Today we're talking to longtime friend and colleague Jordan Smith. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. I'm Tim Hill. This is Daniel Glauser.
How's it going?
Good. So, Jordan.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How's work going?
It's going good. We've got a busy 2026 ahead of us. 2025 was full of design, so that's always fun, but it's a lot more exciting to see things come up out of the ground. So we're looking forward to next year.
Good. As many of you know, Jordan has a long-term history with Reisinger Build. We used to work together, actually, and you subsequently went out and did some other things, and now you have your own company. What's your company focus?
So we are a design build company. Our ideal clients are people who've ran the gamut of production houses, and they know that they want to do more, but they're not to the financial means of maybe a Reisinger, where they're like, okay, we know we want to get the architect and we want to get the interior designer and we've got the engineer. Well, of course, we get engineers too, but we're sort of helping bundle that into a prepackaged one-stop shop, and then we outsource where we need to those different design experts, and the owner just sees it as a single unified contractor versus having a bunch of different people that are working for him. And then the budgets reflect that, right? Where we come in, our ideal level is just under a Reisinger level to those people who would like to build with Reisinger, but then they see the minimums and all of the different, here's the architects that we work with and all of that, and think, dadgum, that's a lot of work and a lot of investment. And so the ones that are just underneath that, so it's still multi-million dollar builds. And unfortunately, with where we're at in the world, everything's $1 million before you blink.
Nature of our market.
Yeah. But it's sort of on that. We jokingly refer to them as the Reisinger rejects, right? Just the ones.
Careful. Yeah.
It is more palatable, though, to a lot of people to have everything under one roof like that. I think
Design build. Yeah.
Yeah. When people are faced with the challenge of developing a team of all these different consultants, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you find that you focus more on remodeling projects or more on new builds?
We've been focused primarily on new builds. It was last year, or I guess this year's when we started executing it. We were sort of reading the tea leaves in the market, and we thought we actually had somebody who had a lot on Lake Travis and Steiner, on the bottom end of Steiner. They had a lot. They wanted us to design and build a house. COVID happened.
Yeah.
They sold the lot for 3 times what they bought it for. But he's like, I live in Steiner and just the production houses. It's like, I hate my house. Can you do something? And I was like, well, we don't really do remodels, but we like you. You're a good client. So yeah, we did a full gut remodel, HVAC, windows, everything interior. We try not to touch the exterior of the house, because when you build high performance, there's only so much covering like if we're not touching it and I can just ignore that it's there and that's somebody else's problem, I can feel good about myself at the end of the day. But if I'm tying into something and I know that there's all kinds of problems that I'm exposing and then I just have to leave them, it's harder for me. So we just, on the remodel side, we're just interiors, focused on kitchens, because kitchens are, you got cabinets, you got plumbing, you got electrical, you got all that. And that usually bleeds into floors and paint, at least in the rest of the house.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing I want to come back to later about the whole house gut and remodel, where you open up cavities or remove cladding on the outside versus just doing cosmetic cabinets and trim and paint and floors, etc. So let's come back to that. I want to talk a little bit about your history. I know we met, 8 years ago maybe?
Yeah.
Would you say that's about right?
We moved here in 2017. So however long ago that, and then we were talking I was talking with Matt in 2016 at the AIA tour for the Perfect Wall House.
Right. Right. And so I remember, if I correctly, your background is materials engineering. Is that right?
Yeah,
Did I get it right?
Materials joining engineering is the full
like welding engineering, sort of?
It's welding. It was actually called welding engineering in a few classes before, from the history of it, until when I started, they changed it to materials joining, because there was more emphasis on polymers and composites than just metals. But it's primarily a welding and metals joining degree.
Material science is a division of mechanical engineering. I know a little bit about it, but not nearly as much as you. But you went to LeTourneau, right?
I went to LeTourneau. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No, it was a great,
That's a great college.
It's a great school. And then RG LeTourneau is one of, obviously he died in 69, so I never met him, but a hero of mine. If you've never read the book, Mover of Mountains and Men, it's his autobiography. And it's a real, I mean, you just realize like every piece of dirt moving equipment you've seen, he had a hand in or directly invented.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
that
the
happened at the
bulldozer
turn of the century or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the last century, actually. I wonder if he had anything to do with the Panama Canal, because that was right in his heyday, wasn't it?
He absolutely did. Yeah, most of the equipment that was used was LeTourneau equipment. He also provided like 90% of the earth moving and moving equipment for World War II.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. Wow. So you had a little stint with Reisinger Build. Actually, you were running and managing our self-performing crew, the Build RH crew there for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then you went out and did some stuff on your own, right?
Yep.
And tell us a little about, after you left, what got you to where you are now? What's that journey look like?
Yeah, so I mean, backing up a little bit, Veronica and I was in oil and gas. I was running a $40 million plant for offshore oil equipment. Actually, LeTourneau equipment. Full circle. I went to school at LeTourneau, and then after 10 years in the industry, I was building the equipment. And oil is cyclical, and it was on a down cycle, and I was high enough in management that it just wasn't fun to just come in and lay off people every week. And we were owned by private equity, so it was very cutthroat, right? Yeah. There's no like keep the team together, and when it comes back, it'll be fine. It was just so anyway. Wasn't having a good time there. Veronica and I had bought land and built our forever home on that, and during that time, after we finished the house, we're like, this is what we like to do. This is what we spend our nights and weekends doing. It's like, wouldn't it be fun to do it ourselves? I've always been entrepreneurial. Veronica had zero interest in getting involved in oil and gas. And so we said, let's build houses. Let's do that. Very close to that time is when I met Matt, and I told Matt that story. And he's like, well, instead of starting your own thing, just come to work for me. And I was like, it's all right. I sort of want to start my own thing. But then I thought about it for like 30 seconds. It's like, man, it'd be way better to learn from somebody who's been there, done that, than try to make all the mistakes from ground zero.
Smart.
And then worked with Matt and y'all for a couple of years with the intent of moving out and starting my own thing. And then the opportunity came up and was able to do that. And then I've been running that company at the same time that we were working with MT Copeland, an online training for the trades company that is still in business but has zero employees. It's just they're selling these videos, and then still doing Smith House and back with the build show.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm excited about that. I really like the video work. I like training. I like learning. Like you learn more by putting it out there and then having everybody be like, "You're an idiot." It's like, it's sort of true.
Yeah. I've always noticed you're good on your feet and good in front of the camera, and I think that's evident in your video work and with Bill Productions. I admire that, and you're right. I've heard that many professors, college professors, have said you learn more by teaching than you actually do by learning.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not sure I understand exactly what that means, but certainly.
Well, just think about the amount of research that it takes to present something in a concise manner. You really have to be a subject matter expert to do that well.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm an expert on almost nothing. So every time that I have to talk about something, I have to spend a lot of time figuring out, I don't. And you put it out on YouTube, and every now and then you get a comment, you're like, that's right. And it sticks with you, when you get called out like that. It's like, that's a good point.
Totally.
Yeah.
It also takes people off guard a little because they're expecting a fight. But if you agree with them, they're like, oh, well, I don't know what to say now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think one thing I want to visit about is an upcoming series, a home that we're going to build here in Austin. We've just started groundwork. and it's the Build HD series home.
Yeah.
And I understand that you're going to be helping or featuring that series in a video that you and Matt are going to put together.
Yeah, no, it's a full series that Matt and I are going to be co-hosting, and we'll be featuring that house and another one. And the cool thing about the series is it's not going to be just following the house; it's going to be following the standard.
Right.
It's going to be explaining how the standard builds better than code without some of the esoteric things that other high performance type code tries to do. This is very practical. I mean, you've been spearheading this and sort of are the king of implementation of high performance building, right? There's a lot of people out there who talk about high performance, and there's a lot of people who build a lot of houses, but it's hard to find somebody who's built a lot of well-performing houses that doesn't just try to, do all of the things, not for performance sake, but it's more for bragging rights.
Yeah, like a checklist.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think Matt and I had this concept years ago that to build a HD, highly durable home meant defining what you do that's better than code, that will ultimately yield a home that lasts for a long, long time and performs really, really well.
Yep.
And that has a big meaning, lot to that. I don't want to get into the discussion about what high performance means. That's a big discussion in the industry right now. But the point is, I think we've established or set out on a journey to identify those incremental, subjective and objective things that mean building better homes. And that's the thing that we all collaborate on within the Build Network is training the country, explaining to our audience and to colleague builders and remodelers what it means to build a higher performance home. And so now we're going to have the opportunity to not only show it as we've done for the last 10 years or so, piece by piece, but in a series that points out those incremental changes and improvements. So I appreciate your willingness and effort to help feature that.
Yeah, no, I'm
point it out.
I'm excited about it. It's going to be a good series.
Yeah. Something that really excites me about this project specifically is reminds me of a point that you made once about one requirement of a long-lasting home should be that it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And this is an absolutely gorgeous house.
That's
awesome. I'm really excited to put this one together.
Daniel's right. I think that your point in when we went through FIAS training, and that what difference does it make if you build a very high-performing home that's just grossly unattractive, that in 10, 15 years somebody wants to tear it down?
Yeah,
right?
the most destructive force in the universe is humanity.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter how long it could last. If I started thinking about this in engineering school, I had a civil engineer who was talking about the choice of materials, and he had all of these programs that would tell him, when he was working as a civil engineer, the programming would come back and say, this bench needs to last without maintenance for 50 years. And so to hit that, they would design it to last 100 years using plastic, right? So this 100 years, he's like, but in reality, that's going to last almost forever in a landfill until it turns back into oil, as it sinks down into the, it's going to be there forever. And he's like, the average time that a bench sat on my projects was 7 to 12 years. And then it was in the landfill. He's like, so we're designing to the spec. He's like, we could have built a wood bench that would have lasted 7 to 12 years. And at the end of it, it just goes back to being wood. Like you inconvenience the tree for a while in its life cycle.
Right.
But now we're inventing all of these materials that are going to be around long after we're gone. And humanity's just tearing it down. So I think a lot about that in houses too. When we say high performance, it's got to be something that future generations want to take care of.
Right.
There's got to be. Right. You look at falling water. Frank Lloyd Wright's. That's a terrible from a building science standpoint. Like that thing would have rotted and fallen off the cliff years ago.
It's been remodeled like 15 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, But we as a society see it and we're like, that's worth taking care of, and so we do. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if we could do the same thing with our homes. You drive through Georgetown, downtown Georgetown, or any nice cute downtowns where every house is different and it was built for a family by a local builder, and there's just a sense of community. And these houses are hundreds of years old and people are taking care of them. And then you drive by these large production suburbs that were built in 95, and you're just like, this place feels like a ghetto. It just doesn't feel good.
Well, I mean, none of us are architects by trade, but we can all three appreciate the endeavor of an architect to create something that's timeless.
Yep.
Now, I'm not even sure I know what that means. It's one of those things that I can recognize it when I see it, but I doubt I could ever create it, personally.
Well, it's also not easy to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do.
It's not easy.
So, that speaks to a big portion of the Build HD standard is that its primary focus, its primary requirement is design.
Mm-hmm.
Design has to be thoughtful, and it has to be a collaborative experience between, licensed, qualified professionals.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever team you assemble, whether it's engineers, architects, interior designers, qualified home builders, to think about every aspect, whether it's site work, whether it's engineering, structural engineering on foundations or framing, or whether it's mechanical equipment or enclosure details. All those things speak to how long the house is going to last, how durable it's going to be. But most importantly, you have to start with something that's attractive or proportionately correct, that people are going to appreciate. I know that like in the 90s and early 2000s, the trend was to build European-style homes. I mean, we call them Tuscan homes, right?
Tuscan homes,
right?
yeah.
Well, the homes in Tuscany that have been there for 200 or 300 years seem to be enduring because people appreciate the original, truly proportionally correct homes that were built out of really solid materials that can withstand all kinds of weather extremes. Not to say they don't need maintenance, but the homes themselves are valued enough that people are willing to invest that money in the maintenance. All of those Tuscan homes that we built here, I would doubt 5% of them still have value.
Yeah.
Right? They may still be around, but people are trying to figure out, how do you remodel a Tuscan home? How do you de-Tuscanize a home? Right?
Yep.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the same thing's true of in the 80s and early 90s. We were trying to build New England style homes here, right?
Yeah.
And not doing a very good job of figuring out how to build a truly American design home.
Yeah.
But,
It's something that I struggle with a lot because I agree with you. I think that beauty exists and it's not subjective. I think my understanding of that is faulty, and my ability to create it can sometimes feel non-existent, right? But it doesn't mean that it's not there just because it's hard, but just because you can't put a blower door on it and say, I'm less than 0.06 CFM, right? Just because you can't measure it directly doesn't mean that it's not out there, and it isn't something that we should be striving to. And you know it when you see it, but as soon as you start trying to make a copy and make it cheaper, so already once you start trying to copy it, it's going to be hard to pull off, very hard to pull off. But if you try to copy it and be like, well, we can't do what the original did because that's too expensive, so instead of using a full timber frame package, we're just going to slap cedar boards on the outside and we're going to call it, a wattle and daub. It's like nobody's fooled. Nobody, or worse than that, it's just it's all cement board, and the cement board itself has this pattern in it, right? Like nobody's fooled. Nobody, and it just becomes this uncanny valley of ugly that everybody can recognize is not the real thing and isn't beautiful.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's a great point, and I think that we need to emphasize that within the series, showing that the house is not only built well, but it's designed well as well.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. I do want to point out one more thing about the Build HD standard. In the actual performance features, and why the standard strives to find things within the code that can be and should be improved. Then let's take, for example, something we talked about recently, and that is like airtightness, right? Airtightness is a big conversation in the home building industry. And what does it mean, and how, and why does the code keep making it more and more strict and stringent and a higher requirement? And recently we did an exercise. I think national IRC code is 4 air exchanges per hour at 50 pascals. And everybody thinks, wow, that's a lot better than it used to be of 5 or 6, right? And I think locally, Austin requires, what, 3?
3.
Yeah. Yeah. And we think, wow, that's really strict. Well, what does 3 mean? Let's take a 4,000 square foot house, and you have 3 air exchanges in a 4,000 square foot house per hour. Let's say it's got a 9-foot ceiling in it. So 40,000 square feet times 9 is 36,000 square feet. 3 of those cubic feet, that's 100,000 cubic feet an hour. Am I doing the math right here?
Your math is right.
I mean, if you're next to a highway, you're breathing a lot of carbon monoxide.
And the Pascal, the 50 pascals, isn't a lot of pressure.
No, it's not.
It's not like we're putting huge.
It's like 0.02 psi, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a strong breeze going across your house. You've got that pressure differential from the front door to the back door.
Right, right. So we really need to improve that. And I think the Build HD standard tries, maybe to be understanding to builders that are really struggling to meet their financial market demands. There's a limit to how much effort and labor they can put into making a house airtight. But certainly a 1 or a 2 is not unreasonable to try to reach.
Yeah.
The Build HD standard, the homes that we build, we try to be down at like 0.5 because that is a truly good somewhat airtight home. But anyway, that's just one example of some of the things we're going to feature in the series and showing you why those things are important and how to get there.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to come back to what we talked about earlier in the big sense of remodeling business, because we do 30% remodels, maybe.
I think that's right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And we have clients that come to us and they want this to look better and they want this to work better, but they don't want to jump in head first and remove all the stone or siding on the outside, and they don't want to remove all the drywall on the inside, but they want to relocate some light fixtures. They want to move some plumbing fixtures. And before too long, you've started to declad enough surfaces that you're asking yourself, why didn't I just take everything off here?
Yeah.
And certainly, if you don't take those things off, you can't improve the airtightness. You can't improve the insulation, right? You can't make sure that you don't have moisture intrusion and mold and those things that are bad for the indoor air quality. So how do you approach that when you talk to clients, when they say, we really want our house to be better and perform better, but we can't really afford to do these things?
Yeah, I mean, so we make a lot of rules and then break them. But at the beginning, we wouldn't even do window replacement jobs. We would just recommend here's Pella, go call them. They've got installers, because like in a brick house, that was, they do a flanged window at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're ripping it out. You're not putting it back in. They put it in and they caulk all around it. And I was just like, I can't ethically, knowing what I know, what the problems that might cause or might not, but might, like, can I do that? So we really, really try to stay inside the envelope. The one place where we do get in the wall is drywall, right? Once you start poking enough holes for light relocation or whatever, it just makes more sense to pull the lid down.
Right.
And then we just usually go back as built with the insulation that was the same style of insulation that was there, and back up and just the way that I sleep at night is like, well, it's been here since 85. There wasn't any staining on the drywall when I pulled it off. It's not actively leaking. I didn't make it worse. Where I have a problem is when you might be making it worse. Like if you're putting an addition, like we just tell people we don't do additions because now you're tying. You can build whatever you're building as well as you want to build it, but when you tie back in, even if this old system hasn't failed by the skin of its teeth for however many years, as soon as you touch it, it's probably going to start. Something's probably going to start going wrong, and so it's tricky. We just try to stay interior and cosmetic. It's a pretty good business model because that's sort of the heavy hitter dollars. People feel like they're getting a good value. And honestly, most of our clients that are doing that are going to be there for 5 to 7 more years, maybe 10, 12 on the outside. Yeah. So when you start telling them, it's like, well, if you want this thing to last 50 years, it's hard enough telling a homeowner for a new build, if you want this thing to last 50 years, like, I'll be dead and gone in 50 years. What do I care?
Yeah.
But on a remodel, it's really difficult because it's almost double expensive of building it new.
I think the key word there is you mentioned system. Like everything we do is a systems approach. And if you're just adding something on to something else, those are going to be 2 different systems because of the way that we construct things. And knowing whether or not you're going to make something worse, there's really no way to do the science because you don't know what's happening inside that envelope.
It's way easier to do the CSI investigation after something's failed to be like, oh, that's why it failed versus like what will happen is like, any number of things.
And it's almost a mystery. And sometimes you see things that were done so incorrectly. But let's say, for example, they had 3-foot overhangs. Yeah. So you're able to get away with murder practically because, you had some other protection that wouldn't have helped you otherwise. Mm-hmm. But that's not an uncommon thing. I would love for our industry to educate not only clients, but the rest of our contractor community about assemblies. Mm-hmm. And that's the systems approach, right? So whether you call it a system or an assembly, all those things have to work together. In any given wall section, roof section, ceiling section, whatever, you have to have the right layers for it to perform well. And if you don't affect all the layers and you just affect 1 or 2 of them, you're liable to make that assembly not perform as well as it was to start with. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. We sometimes have remodeling clients who want their house to be better insulated. And why can't we just spray foam the attic? Right? Well, the answer is because you're liable to create moisture problems that you didn't have before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so
there's only so many dehumidifiers you can put in a house.
Yeah, right.
I mean, credit to the insulation companies and window companies. Those 2 lobbies have done their marketing really well because when people think about how to make their home better performing, they add insulation. And in some cases, I've done it in houses that I've owned where you just spray another layer of fiberglass over your existing to, it does. It's a cheap knob that you can turn. But when we're building new, we're concerned about water. Yeah. We're concerned about air. Right. We're concerned about vapor. And we're concerned about how the vapor reacts thermally. Right. So thermal is important, but it's pretty far down on the, will this house fall down in the next, or fail in the next 10 years? Yeah. Thermal's pretty low, but in people's minds, when they think high performance, like, oh, we want a super insulated home. It's like, you were mentioning air. I mean, that's number 2. You don't want water in, but air brings a lot of water in.
That's right.
And it's funny too, because the association with comfort and insulation should really be directed towards air tightness because that affects comfort more than anything.
Absolutely. You have a drafty door and you're going to feel that way sooner than a R13 versus an R19 wall next to you.
That's right. And, as important as glass is, a really well-insulated house, if you're sitting in a chair next to a 8x8 window on a 20-degree day, you're not going to be comfortable. It doesn't matter how well the house is insulated, right? Yep. So anyway, there's a lot to it. Let's move on because I want to do some fun stuff here. All right. So let's talk about gadgets. right?
All right.
What's your favorite job site tool? What do you like to use, or what do you like to see used the most?
So my joke is, if you see me with a tool belt on, something has gone terribly wrong. something has failed catastrophically. So I honestly don't carry that many tools with me, but I've got a Fisker razor knife. That is the coolest knife ever. It's got a flip cover on it, so you don't extend the blade out. The blade's a fixed blade, but then the cover actually flips out. So opposite of the blade flipping out and back in.
Yeah.
There it is.
Have you seen one of these?
I've seen what is this.
Anyway, I'll share that later on some kind of link. But this is the best razor knife ever.
All right.
And I carry this every day. It's just a frame lock,
Yeah,
right? Just like a regular high quality pocket knife, but it's an exchangeable blade.
I like
but
that.
Great point.
like that.
One of my favorite tools also.
Yeah.
This is what he does. He asks you the questions so that he can show his tools.
I mean, obviously, you keep a Benchmade on you at all time, but that's I don't like chipping that knife like I will a replaceable razor.
Totally.
Yeah, we're obviously both pen nuts as well, right? Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see this? This is the new one that.
Yeah. I've got a box of those.
Huh?
Yeah.
Look at that. So I got to put a real refill in there, a real cartridge in there. But I was excited about that one. And then this Rouser gave this to us one Christmas, probably eight
Those
years
wallets
ago.
last a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're very handy. Wow. That's cool. All right. What's the worst job site mistake you have made or have seen made?
I'll keep it personal. I'll admit to it. I was really excited about this helical pier foundation, and I still really am. That's not the mistake that I made. But in my naivety, and it hasn't bit us yet, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about it, but I think we're outside of the warranty period. No, I just put the house on these helical piers, wood frame foundation, spray foam underneath, and that was my vapor. But the wood was still exposed, and I was so excited about, like, you don't have to do any type of site prep. Like, you can just put this out in the pasture. And I did it to make a point of, like, this is how cool this is. The owner, once they bought the house, so this whole thing is ventilated completely underneath.
Right.
The owner covered up the prevailing wind direction with a pool that comes all the way up.
Oh, yeah.
And now there's a pool, and I have less airflow. And sometimes I stay up at night being like, if I would have just put a vapor barrier down and some ballast gravel, I wouldn't be as concerned about that. So that was the one that popped up. I don't know if there was a mistake, but it just reinforced, like, you can go down this path of high performance and you just overspend on stuff that doesn't matter.
That's right.
But you can also go the other way of, like, nickel and diming a project to where it's just like, it doesn't cost that much. Just do it and be done with it, and then you can at least, even if it's never an issue, you can sleep better at night.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. What's an overrated design trend that you see people asking for?
Again, back to the fake. So y'all do a lot of plaster homes. Plaster is beautiful. It's very trendy right now.
Yeah.
I even think that real plaster is getting on that line of trendy. But what I definitely know everybody's going to be going over is this lime wash or this paint that looks like plaster, or there's this whole trend right now where I can't afford an actual troweled plaster, so I'm going to paint on something that looks like it. Everybody's going to be redoing that. And then I wonder, will some of these houses that spent $120,000 for a plaster job, in another 10, 20 years, people will be coming in and be like, we're just going to paint over that. Like, it's just gaudy. It's just like, why do you?
Well, yeah.
So I wonder. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder, because you start seeing it. You know, it's trendy when people can't afford the whole house. So the whole house is drywall, and you go into a bathroom and there's like one wall.
Yeah.
You know, an 8x8 area that has plaster on it. And you're like,
Yeah.
And it's really hard to maintain too. I think that's why people ultimately paint over it sometimes.
yeah.
So I'm actually about to tattle act my own kitchen backsplash.
Oh.
which
See, that's good. The trend's over if Daniel's doing it.
so this is actually the less expensive version because we wanted to use like a solid surface. Actually,
Yeah.
my wife wanted the Taj Mahal, and which is quite expensive. And I was like, well, I could plaster it and it would look really nice. And so we'll see how it goes. I haven't done it yet, but
You don't have drops of Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is everywhere right now.
Yeah.
Golly, we've been putting that in.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Talk about trends.
yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
did
it is a beautiful and it's sort of timeless, but it's overdone, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it in a shower 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. It holds up really well, except where it tries to join with tile and it needs to drain, it needs to dry out. And that joint line has a tendency to like collect moisture.
Yeah.
Hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure that's a solvable detail. We just haven't figured out yet.
Yep.
Right. Last thing. What's your dream project? What are you hoping to find in the next year or two that would really be super rewarding for your team?
So this is a big dream. I don't know whether this is possible, but one of when we talk about affordable high performance, one of the big challenges is finding an affordable lot, a good affordable lot. Like you either go out and buy land. That's what most of my clients. We work in sort of different areas. Y'all mostly are existing house there gets tore down and new house goes in because the lake's right there. So we're doing something there. We tend to go outside. We're still on the lake, but we're further. We just keep going further that way where there's open lots. But you're still spending $500,000 to $1 million for that lot. Pretty easily. That's not affordable. You go to a small development lot and you just can't get them because the production builders are buying them up by the hundreds and the thousands. So if you're trying to build a high quality, smaller custom home for yourself, you can't really do that affordably because of that lot problem. So I would like to figure out a way of doing developments where the lots are a little bit larger, quarter to maybe half acre instead of quarter to an eighth acre, right? Just giving everybody a little bit more breathing room. But then saying, here's the list of the architects that you can work with, and they've all been both pre-vetted and are interested in doing something. It wouldn't be the detailing just wouldn't be as high because these are everyday houses. These aren't works of art. And then here's the list of builders that you can use. And you end up being around that 400, 500, 600 a square foot instead of the 7,000, 1,500 a square foot, or the production homes that 265, 275 a square foot. So people are still, it's not going to be like Habitat for Humanity affordable, but it's going to be like, if you have $1 million to spend, you can get a really good home in a really good community that is, I would love to see a maintenance free for 25 years. Like if you use the right natural siding like Nakamoto or any of these other products is like just no paint on the outside. And it's like, not only, so a 55-year-old person buying this house, all right, I don't have to do anything with this. My HVAC warranty is at least 10 years, 10 years. I don't have to do a thing with this for the rest of my life, and it will last for generations.
Right.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's a great aspiration. Good. Okay, well, let's wrap up. Want to make sure everybody understands your presence on the Bill Show Network, Jordan Smith, right?
Yep.
And our podcast, Work in Process, right?
That's right.
Thank you guys for listening. The upcoming Build HD Standard Series, keep an eye out for that. Probably starting to show up in a few months, maybe?
Yeah, I think we're starting to shoot January.
Right.
So it'll
That's
be coming
exciting.
out shortly after that.
All right. Well, thank you, Jordan, for coming today.
Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks,
You
Dana.
bet.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan.